Hello, my name is Nekita Esperon. I'm a VTuber and welcome back to Pikmin 2. In the last episode, we completed the first 2 days of Pikmin 2, which takes place in the area Valley of Repose. We completed the Emergence Cave and discovered a new Pikmin type called Purple Pikmin. And in this episode, we are going to start in the Awakening Wood. However, as I mentioned, there is one thing we need to discuss before we enter the Awakening Wood, and that is the world map. At the top, you have the amount of money that we've gotten from collecting treasures, and the amount of debt that is, and the amount of money that's necessary to clear the Hakatate Freight's debt. However, those two other buttons are kind of important. One is called the Piklopedia. Every single creature that you discover can be selected and viewed in these sort of viewable areas, and these aren't just areas designed specifically for this. These are actually the areas you see when you explore these areas let me try that again. These are the same areas that you explore when you go into area selection. So the Valley of Repose is going to look like the Valley of Repose, the Awakening Wood is going to look like the Awakening Wood. And if you go on the world map and select an area and then go to Piklopedia or Treasures, it will select that environment to show on the map. So interestingly enough, there are a lot of differences between the versions of these areas that you explore in the base game and the versions that appear in the Piklopedia and Treasure Hoard. And there are a lot of differences that you can, of course, look into if you go to the Wikipedia, or the Pikmin wiki, called Wikipedia. It is not a fandom site, it is the actual Pikmin wiki. But more importantly, Olimar's notes. There are tons of bits and pieces of dialogue that you can learn just by looking at all this information. You'll know that red Bulborbs are part of the grub dog family, even though various Bulborbs aren't actually part of the grub dog family, they're part of the breadbug family. There's a lot of nuance, and I won't dwell on this too much longer, but I thought it was interesting to bring up because we will be looking at the Piklopedia later. But for now, the Awakening Wood awaits. Now, unlike the Valley of Repose, the Awakening Wood, along with all the other areas in the game, have one interesting thing about their design. And if you have played Pikmin 1, you may recognize what I mean.
Good morning. It should please you to know the purple Pikmin are lodged safely in my hull. The confines of my interior seem to suit them perfectly, though they do occasionally tickle me. Stand in the ring of light below me and press A to call the purple Pikmin out.
So any Pikmin that we get from the caves will go into the ship instead of into an onion, because purple Pikmin don't have an onion. First things first, we have a lot of work to do, and we're going to start by making all of our leaf Pikmin, and as well as all of our purple Pikmin, just by proxy. We're going to make all of our Pikmin flowers, and to do that, we need to find patches of grass like this. Patches of grass like this, if you throw up to 5 Pikmin at them, they will start plucking grass.
Lily, has Olimar instructed you on the peculiarities of the Pikmin creatures? The Pikmin form groups based on color when disbanded with X. Grabbing Pikmin with A will also cause them to group by color. Now for the bonus lesson. After grabbing a Pikmin with A, you can press left or right on the D-pad to swap it for another color. This is the first time you have heard this. Olimar, remember to properly train new employees.
Well, I don't know why I should train my replacement after I just survived being here in the first place. Oh well. So while they're off doing that, we're gonna go ahead and clean up some of these pellet posies. we have some of these. These white enemies here are called female shear grubs. We will find male shear grubs a bit later. Okay, that should be fine. Do that. Now we're going to swap to our purple Pikmin, because now it's time to find out about the purple Pikmin's unique trait when it comes to combat. When thrown, they will slam and stun enemies. So you can just throw 10 of them like this, and immediately mark a red billboard. Here's our first treasure of the area, I think it's called the Sunseed Berry in this one. And we're just going to take our red Pikmin and go ahead and increase our supply as best as we can. Just pluck all of our Pikmin. I should also turn around and see about how our grass yield was, because we didn't get to see why we were plucking grass, but it's because of this. This is nectar. Any Pikmin that touches nectar and is able to drink it will immediately convert to flowers. Flowers are the strongest possible form of Pikmin. However, the form is fragile.
The Pikmin that drank the yellow nectar instantly matured into flower Pikmin. It appears to have enhanced motor skills. What a wondrous nectar. How intriguing. Like plants, Pikmin mature from leaf to bud to flower. Captain Olimar, you must share the information you have with your subordinate, Louis.
I think he's figuring it out. So yeah. That cutscene kinda ruined it, but that's okay. Not too worried about it. We have more opportunities to get nectar, so it's okay. Look at that, we're already 10% done with our deck. Ah, but there was a quirk with Pikmin growing.
Olimar, we have a problem. The onion has ceased ejecting seeds. Is it malfunctioning? Interesting. It now seems the number of life forms within the onion has increased. Didn't you note that no more than 100 Pikmin will venture onto the planet at once? But I currently observe only 95 on the surface. Could there be wild Pikmin somewhere?
Well, only one way to find out. So, yeah, it is not a waste for you to just continually throw enemies into onions in order to convert them into more Pikmin. It is almost never a waste for you to just take Pikmin, or for you to take creatures and convert them into what have you. So, in the meantime, while we are working on this black bramble gate, which is going to take about twice as long as the other white bramble gate that we dealt with earlier. Oh, that's actually exactly what we need. Hold on. This is a honey wisp, and it should, and it's going to appear invisible, and then and these are my tights. You can kill them with purple Pikmin, and they appear at complete random from eggs. So I think we got all of our Pikmin flowered now, so we should be good.
Astounding! This red berry contains an ultra-spicy essence. It does not appear to have any monetary value, but I shall research potential uses for it. Bring me another specimen.
So, that thing I mentioned about consolidating everything into groups starts here. While this gate is being brought down, I'm going to have Olimar sort of nursing these spiderworts, I think they're called. Burgeoning spiderworts. And get this stuff.
Captain Olimar, my research on the red berries you discovered has yielded a powerful potion. Behold the Ultra Spicy Spray. Although it is untested, I believe it will have spectacular results. Spray it on all your Pikmin by pressing down on the D-pad. When necessary, I can produce 1 bottle of spray from 10 berries. Press start or pause to contact me and confirm your berry count. Look at L on the radar screen.
And since we were just here in the treasure hoard, we can now see that we have 1 ultra spicy spray. These spider warts are going to continue growing every single couple hours in-game, and will respawn with more berries. However, the thing is that there is an enemy type that only appears in the overworld that can eat these berries and cause the general just area to become infested and stop growing these berries. So it's important to monitor these areas in particular. Now, you may see this area and it might knock a couple memories if you have played Pikmin 1. This is actually the starting area of the Forest of Hope in Pikmin 1. As you can see, if you just direct here, and then go into this screen, it goes into this open field area, and up here is where you fought the burrowing Snagrets. Some stuff is obviously different, but these are supposed to be the areas that Golemar originally explored in his first experience, or his first time on this planet. We can't get that treasure right away, that jar of Carmex, and we are... Whoops. Almost forgot about that guy. Well done. That was 9, that's okay. So those guys are going to take that all the way back, and we're going to go to the next cave, which is just over here, covered in cherry blossoms. We can also hear some splashing off in the distance. We'll get to that later. We can't go there yet.
Biological sensors are reacting violently. The readings are ominous. A beast of unknown power lurks in these depths. A large Pikmin group would be reassuring. My sound sensors are picking up hostile roars of many beasts. Expect dangerous encounters. Sensors are also showing extreme heat pockets. You may need flame-resistant Pikmin. But my records indicate no such data. Are my records incomplete?
So you can hear splashing off in the distance, and we can't see it very well from here, but we will go check later. We can't do anything about that white bramble gate because it is currently covered in poison, and we can't do anything about that right now. In the meantime, I'm gonna wait here at this cave for these guys to finish their work, and then we're gonna go into the next cave. The reason I want these Pikmin to bring these items here is that this keeps these enemies from respawning, technically. And I don't mean, like, anything too drastic, but yeah, it's not too much of a problem if they just respawn, because we'll kill them easily. I'm not going to take all my Pikmin with me. I'm going to leave the ones that were with Olimar, and they'll just go back into the Onion until we return to the overworld. So, the Hole of Beasts. Our first actual cave where there is a substantial amount of randomized floors. And this is where I'm going to start explaining how this works. In terms of just how to predict what's going on in this. So a very good example is right at the beginning. This is sub-level 1, and if you can tell on the map, it is just 2 nodes. It is two four-way nodes put together. Oh, and here's some male shear grubs, in case you were wondering. The difference between female shear grubs and male shear grubs is their coloration. Male shear grubs are more purple and darkish in nature, and they can actually attack and kill Pikmin. And I don't mean in the sense of like they'll eat them or anything. No, they actually just cut Pikmin in half, and it's not a great experience to look at. So what we're going to do is we're going to be extra careful and try to take care of as many of these sheer grubs as possible. Fortunately, they're very susceptible to swarming. So yeah, you have white sheer grubs. They're female. They don't attack, and they're just, you know, free Pikmin. But male sheer grubs actually fight back, and they can be kind of spooky. The other big difference between male and female sheer grubs is that male sheer grubs are just generally more aggressive, but both can destroy bridges. And we'll get to bridges a bit later because we haven't seen one yet, which is interesting to say. Anyways, our first treasure, the Stone of Glory. This is an NES D-pad, or just a Nintendo. I think it's specifically an NES D-pad, but that chime indicates that we have no more treasures to find in this floor, so we are free to continue on to the next one. But as I mentioned, this is a 2-unit floor generated, and it only needs this and that. So these units actually have 4 exits, and these 4 exits then are given end caps, or dead ends, and these dead ends form these sort of long spindly arms. But one of these exits has to connect to another cave unit, so it connects to another 4-way intersection cave unit of a similar fashion. All of the object spawns are random, all of the enemy spawns are random. Not like you can get different enemies every time, but the placement and layout, or even the spawns of specific enemies will always happen. So there will always be sheer grubs in this floor, but they will be in different positions and locations, slightly askew from one another. Here's another example of what I mean with the random generation. This is the same floor layout, but it is now a rest area, as you can tell by the music. This uses the exact same layout, but now certain ends of floors have items like eggs. These eggs can be destroyed for nectar, or mitites. 2 mitites in one episode is actually kind of rare. Fortunately, they only scare Pikmin, except purple Pikmin. Purple Pikmin are their weakness. You can kill them pretty easily, as you've no doubt noticed. They are worth a decent chunk. Not like a ton, but enough to matter. And here in Sublevel 2, we have more violet candy pop buds. Five is the limit, as we mentioned. Most of the time in a cave, I will only take one captain in like a small group at a time. But since we're so early in the game, it's not too threatening to just grab both captains and take them along for a bit, because there aren't any hazards in these first 2 floors. Now, obviously, we have to flower these purple Pikmin. We have a lot of nectar because mitites drop nectar when they're killed. And now we have just a lot of purple Pikmin. We have about 20 in our possession now, and we're gonna need 20 for stuff that's necessary. Most break rooms don't have a treasure in them, so we don't have to worry about that. And more importantly, there aren't any buried treasures in this cave, to my knowledge. I don't think any treasures could be buried here. Alright, now we're seeing some differentiation in the cave generation. We are now in a circular map unit, or a circular cave unit, and they are now placing traps on the ground. These are fire geysers, and in our current state, we take a lot of damage from fire. So we're gonna have our red Pikmin sort of lead the charge for a while, and then we'll grab the treasures and sort of leave the purple Pikmin to just chill for a while, because they're not gonna be needed for what we're doing around here. Yeah, that dealt like a 1/6 of my health. It hurts. That is our first treasure. It is a Mahjong tile. And here's our other treasure. This is a Famicom disc for the Nintendo Famicom Disk System. For those who don't know, the Famicom Disk System is foundationally the same console as the Nintendo Entertainment System, but over in Japan they used discs. The Strife Monolith. I think if you've played any Yakuza and Mahjong has been your bane, then that name probably makes a lot of sense to you. But yes, every single object in this is selected from a sort of a data file that tells them how many of a certain item need to spawn in this floor. How many of this needs to be here, but the placement of them, as well as the units that are used, are typically predetermined and then arranged in a random fashion. So it's not truly random, but it still is, because the ways that you explore them are different. Alright, further into the Hole of Beasts. The Hole of Beasts. Sub-level floor. Sub-level floor. Okay, this room is a lot bigger, and now there are enemies in it. Starting to notice the trend here. Now we're being thrown to the wolves. Well, not necessarily being thrown to the wolves, actually. We're being... If anything, the game's being extremely nice early on. Oh, that Bulborb dropped a Game & Watch. Hooray! Alright, with that out of the way, there's nothing here, and there's another Violet Candy Pop Bud, as well as a Nintendo playing card. This is the Game & Watch Ball. Game & Watch was Nintendo's first portable game system. It sort of inspired Tiger Electronics, more or less. And it led on to the Game Boy. So if you played Super Smash Brothers, you know who Game & Watch, you know Game & Watch at that point. Mr. Game & Watch is kind of a misnomer, because the I think the character's name is just Game & Watch or whatever, but the fact of the matter is that it is just a very cool thing. The Luck Wafer. The Ace of Spades. And as you can tell by the little sort of slowed down effect that fades, we have no more treasures in this area to worry about. We went ahead and grabbed some more additional purple Pikmin, so now we have 25 in our group. And we go further into the cave. Ba-da-ba-da. Onto sub-level 5. We are now in the final floor of the Hole of Beasts. And we have quite the boss to deal with now. So if you've no doubt noticed, there is a weird crushed corpse at the start of this field that looks vaguely Bulborbish. It might actually just be the shell or the skin of this boss that we're going to be dealing with right now. This is Empress Bulborb, if I recall. It's definitely not Bulblax, because that's a thing later. But as you can tell, she's a giant worm. Or a giant caterpillar-like thing, and we're gonna just wake her up. Now, she's not gonna do anything in this first encounter, but we're just gonna throw a handful of Pikmin and then try to recall them before they get crushed. But every single time you attack her, she'll sort of recoil for a bit, and if you whistle before she bucks them all off, and then wait for her to roll into both walls, then you can just continue throwing Pikmin at her face. I wanted to make sure that I wasn't going to lose Pikmin, because, as you've noticed, just by sort of throwing in that direction, you can lose Pikmin just by missing her once she starts recoiling. and then they'll start traveling towards her center, and when she starts rolling, there's not a whole lot you can do to save a Pikmin once it's that far away from you. So again, this boss is fairly easy because it's in a fixed location, and it's in a very easy to sort of manipulate pattern, a way that's easy to comprehend and manipulate. And as long as you know the timings, you don't have to worry about a thing. So I'm actually going to do one and I was actually extremely worried about those Pikmin for a second. This last phase should be good. So we aim towards, like, here, and then throw. And we're done. That was Emperor Bulborb. We can collect body, and then we can collect the item. This electronic love tester?
How bizarre. This device is emitting black light. It must have been ingested by that creature. What an absolutely repulsive life form. Our return to Hakatate cannot come soon enough.
We need 35 Pikmin to lift it, but fortunately we have a lot of purple Pikmin that can lift it, as well as just a lot of red Pikmin in general, so we don't have to worry about the lift that much. We will, however, prioritize red Pikmin on this because purple Pikmin move at roughly 60% of the speed of all other Pikmin types, other than another Pikmin type we'll get into very soon. But it's just faster to give them to red Pikmin because purple Pikmin will always be slower. The prototype detector.
This contraption seems to react when it approaches treasure. I will connect it to my radar. Processing complete. The treasure gauge is now fully operational. It will now appear on your monitor. The needle will move right as you approach treasure.
So, remember that sound? Now it has a visual. That means that there is no more treasure to collect in this area, and we're good to move on. So if it wasn't obvious at this point, caves are the best way to get money. You go into a cave, you get a bunch of really valuable treasures in most instances, and you return back at your ship with all of the Pikmin that you had gained earlier. So, let's do a little bit more work in the Awakening Wood, because there is still a lot we have left to do. Doing the Awakening Wood is going to take at least 2 days. But we can alleviate some of that issue if we hurried. So I'm just going to leave these guys to attack pellet posies, going to attack these guys, throw 2 Pikmin that way, and we're just going to rush. Grab this. We can't grab that item. We could technically grab it with a purple Pikmin, but I'm going to do this in the developer-intended way, and we will discuss the not developer-intended ways very soon. Okay, that's done. Wait on him. That's a blue. You know what, I'm just gonna do this. 6, 7, 8. And here's our next cave.
Astounding! My metal detectors are reacting violently. What could be down below? If you find trouble below, press start pause to contact me, and press R on the radar screen. The exploration pod will drop its loot to make room to carry you, Louie, and the Pikmin to safety.
What's interesting is that in an earlier version of the game, you would lose all your Pikmin, but take half the treasure you found on the way. So now we can discover what that splashing is. Oh, good. Look at them. More Pikmin. And they're currently just fighting tadpoles.
Look there! Wild blue Pikmin are chasing prey near the water's edge. Perhaps by observing these wild specimens we can understand more about their true nature. Ding! I apologize. I was momentarily entranced by them. Now, back to work.
So, this is the third gate that we have to worry about. These are electric gates. If any Pikmin touches them, they are instantly killed. And I don't mean like they take a little damage or they lose their flowers. No, in Pikmin 2, unlike all other Pikmin games that have electricity, which is surprisingly not much actually, only Pikmin 3 has... I mean, Pikmin 3 has yellow... The point is... unlike Pikmin 3, in Pikmin 2, if any Pikmin that isn't resistant to electricity touches an electric gate, they are immediately fried and instantly killed. And this applies to just electricity in general. Electricity, unlike all other elements that you have to worry about in this game, are immediately effective, while the rest, there's some time to save them. Alright. Welcome to White Flower Garden. White Flower Garden is the first time we see a new theme for caves. This is the metal theme, and it is also one of the only themes in Pikmin 2 that has that you can lose Pikmin to throwing them off the edge for. It is most well known for having extremely low walls, and later on they throw enemies at you that can launch your Pikmin off the edge. It's kind of scary. Anyways, our first treasure of the White Flower Garden is a can of kiwi shoe polish. Yeah, I don't know either. So, Nintendo decided that the best way to show scale is to introduce real-world items, because we are technically on a post-humanity planet Earth. They gave it a name later in Pikmin 3. They call it PNF 404, and it's named that by the Copites. Alien billboard, of course. Okay, we are good to go to the next floor. But in order to do that, and for it to make sense, they had to change a lot of the items, or add completely new models entirely to replace what was in the Japanese version. Because a lot of the treasures in the Japanese version are, weirdly enough, like milk lids. And in almost every single instance, they replace the Japanese brand with an American, or in Europe, a European equivalent. So, for instance, those milk lids become dramatically different treasures in the US version. I don't think they become the bottle caps. I think the bottle caps are something else entirely, but they effectively had to add brand new models or completely replace textures for all regions of the game. This is a fiery blowhog, and if I didn't have a bunch of purple Pikmin, they would be horrifying in this area because, like I mentioned before, they have the ability to buck off any Pikmin on top of them, which is really scary. We didn't get any bucks that time, at least. Okay, there's still a treasure around here, and it's not on any of those two ends, so it has to be over here. Yeah, it's over here. This is the next bottle cap. It is a Dr. Pepper bottle cap. Vintage. Vintage Dr. Pepper bottle cap. You know, something recognizable for the kids. And there are only 2 treasures on this floor, so we can just go over to the exit, wait for it to be claimed. The Drought Ender. Yeah, when I think of Dr. Pepper, I think of Drought Ending, for sure. I don't necessarily think any of my favorite sodas are in here, but, I mean, I can't say no to a Dr. Pepper. It's not a bad choice. There are definitely better sodas out there, but Dr. Pepper's not that bad. 7-Up, not really here or there. Cherry 7-Up, though. Quite good. Alright, sub-level 3. This is, as you can hear, a rest area. Nothing threatening here. This is also one of the few zones in the game where it is just a single unit map, and this single unit is this really, really large area. Oh look, more candy pop buds, but different.
How can a flower so deep underground bloom so robustly? How mysterious. This place is conspicuously warm. Could it act as a kind of hothouse for foliage? What an interesting development. The Pikmin looked as if they longed to be tossed into the flower.
Well, we've already seen this experience before, it's just a different Pikmin. But this time, it's white Pikmin. And white Pikmin are the best Pikmin in the game. Well, second best. We'll get into the actual best later. Look at this guy. He looks friendly. That's a face I would trust.
Incredible. A white Pikmin. It is tiny, but looks distinctly swift. Its eyes are an unseemly red. This type of Pikmin was not mentioned in your notes, Olimar. It must be an entirely new type. Our data record on this type is a blank page, since a certain captain never documented them. You must experiment and make detailed observations for the benefit of future generations.
So, as mentioned in the as mentioned in the text boxes, white Pikmin are insanely swift, and as you noticed in the animation that he did, he also coughed up a little bit of purple. That's because white Pikmin are also immune to poison. But that's not all. They are also the only type of Pikmin who can detect underground buried treasures.
The white Pikmin have unearthed a treasure that was completely buried in the ground. Perhaps those beady red eyes of theirs allows them to sense objects buried in the dirt.
So yes, white Pikmin are insanely valuable, because even in dungeons that don't have poison hazards, they will sometimes bury a treasure. Okay, they're just gonna take that back without any rhyme or reason, so we're just gonna wait at the cave for their... we're gonna wait at the hole for their arrival. So yeah, white Pikmin are insanely useful, and they're really, really good. Not only do they move the fastest out of any Pikmin in the entire game, but they also have good attack power, and almost triple the carrying speed of any other Pikmin type. They are insanely useful and versatile. Alright. And here's our first collection of tape. The Super Stick Textile. And just like that, we're done with this floor. Now, I won't bring these white Pikmin further into certain areas because if you've noticed from the purple Pikmin and the white Pikmin, the caveat of them being really reliable Pikmin types are that you can only get them in caves. Meaning that if you need to replenish your purple Pikmin supply or your white Pikmin supply, you need to go into caves where they have those candy pop buds, the ivory candy pop buds or the violet candy pop buds, and try to get more of them. And sometimes that works out better than others, and in many other instances it can be absolutely horrifying. Fortunately, there are already well-known and well-documented areas for really good farming that's also safe, so we don't have to worry too much about that. But they're also, again, one of the only ways for us to defuse these traps. Because again, unlike a lot of other traps, the poison traps don't stop spewing whatever poisonous gas they tend to fire out. So unfortunately, we have to use white Pikmin to defuse them, because there's no way to time, like with fire geysers, a way to diffuse poison geysers without white Pikmin. So poison is incredibly dangerous. It doesn't instantly kill like electricity, but it's still dangerous because it can be misleading with how far it actually hits. Here's the toxic toadstool, the first item, and we have a thing of chapstick, which we can reach if we go up this ramp. So if you play these games in the Switch HD versions, and you're like, man, my caves look different, as I explained before, a lot of it is random, including the placement of items, although it's pretty easy to predict where certain items will be. It's just that in this instance, the chapstick spawns on top of the stump, sometimes nothing spawns on the stump. Sometimes both of these items are actually really, really close together, and other times they're completely far apart. And that's almost completely at the mercy of the way that this game randomly generates cave floors. Obviously, there is quite a bit of say in whether or not something spawns there. It's obviously dictated in data files that tell the game how to spawn things. But my experience with the game, which is actually being surprisingly nice to me in terms of placement, is going to be different for you. These floors are going to look different, the treasure placements are going to be different. And you can easily tell the differences by just hitting the reset button, because these generations happen after saving every single time. So you'll get a different placement every single time you reset on a subfloor, and it's not risky because this game is also extremely nice with its autosaves. Need to make sure that I don't have any white Pikmin with me, because white Pikmin are extremely important, and I'm not gonna risk having a leaf red with me. But here's the final floor. Oh. And the boss of our white flower garden is the burrowing snagret, a half snake, half bird creature. Sometimes it'll get stuck in the ground, and all you need to do is throw Pikmin at it when it launches up like that. You have to wait on it to get stuck in the ground like that, because you can tell when it gets stuck. If you see the back of its neck come out of the ground, then that means it's going to come out quickly. But if its beak comes out first, then it's going to get stuck, and you can throw Pikmin on top of its head where its weak point is. If you try to swarm it while it's up and out of the ground, it will eat all the Pikmin that are at its base. And it's also an incredibly fast eater, so you have to be careful of that. Okay. And that is the burrowing snagret. We didn't watch the explosion. I'll be sure to catch the explosion when we go to the Awakening Wood next. Or when we return to the Awakening Wood in a second revisit, because it has to be a bit later. That treasure was ingested by that beast, wasn't it? It sure was. So this item is quite recognizable to some folks. This is the 5-man knapsack, and it is probably one of the least useful items you'll ever get in the game. And not for lack of trying. It's just a very interesting niche item. So as I mentioned, leaf Pikmin will carry this the fastest. Or not leaf Pikmin, sorry. White Pikmin will carry that the fastest. I can also go in here and see if any of these contain anything. More Mitites. That's actually kind of insane. I've never seen that many Mitites in like such short span of time. I only ever see these guys like maybe once every hour. It's actually kind of crazy how many I've seen this time. The 5-man knapsack, which is just a glove.
This material looks comfortable. I will use it to patch the boss's favorite sleeping bag. Seam test inclusive, cross-stitching successful. The knapsack is complete. When you have an unoccupied time interval, press and hold X to take a nap.
That's all it says, is that you can use it for a nap. But in reality, it actually doesn't do anything that you think a nap would do. Like, a nap will put you to sleep, and in some instances, it's how you can heal, but there isn't a way to heal in this game. However, if you press and hold X, the nearest Pikmin to you, up to 4, will carry you back to the ship. Or to that Pikmin's onion in certain circumstances. And while that is not useful for us in this playthrough, it is actually extremely useful if you are trying to do a low day run or a speed run, because the knapsack lets you mess with the game's pathing. Just like that, the white flower garden is complete. And now we have everything that's necessary for us to finish our first trip in the Awakening Wood, but we need to hurry because we're running out of time. So now that we're done with the White Flower Garden and the Hole of Beasts, we have a little bit more left to do in the Awakening Wood before the day ends, and we only have a few minutes to figure it out. So, instead of stressing about it, we're going to consolidate. We're going to have one white Pikmin collect this treasure that's buried in the flower pot, because our treasure gauge... Oh, also say hi to the iridescent flint beetle. That's a creature we will be messing with later, but we don't have the time. Alright, so, I missed. Hold on. I only need one Pikmin for this. One white Pikmin to help discover it. So, when the item is unburied enough to be discovered by the other Pikmin, they will go get it. But we are running on a very strict time limit. We have about 5 minutes remaining. And all that time has to be spent doing as much as possible to get the white Pikmin past the Hole of Beasts wall that we saw earlier. And you might be asking yourself, well, why don't you get the one next to White Flower Garden? White Flower Garden is a good place to start, but interestingly enough, it's actually more worthwhile to get the one next to Hole of Beasts because it, as you will see in about 3 seconds, is where we are going to get the next sphere chart item. And the sphere chart items are way more important because they unlock other areas of the game. When we go to the other side of the field, it's going to only get us maybe one treasure and access to another cave, but we can't access that cave without yellow Pikmin.
Astounding! The heads of the Pikmin are glowing, and they seem extremely agitated. The Ultra Spicy Spray appears to increase Pikmin speed and attack power. What a discovery!
So, Ultra Spicy Sprays are incredibly important because of their ability to increase a Pikmin's efficiency. And the efficient part is kinda crucial. Without Ultra Spicy Sprays, it becomes incredibly difficult to get all these Pikmin to move objects really fast. So, since we're not under any real time crunch to get more Spicy Sprays, I'm going to be using purple Pikmin to get the Spicy Sprays. And then I will also be using them while we're waiting on these burgeoning spiderworts to replenish, get more red Pikmin ready. Alright. So, while that's all on the way, we're gonna bring our other Pikmin over. The Burgeoning Spiderworts have replenished. And we just have to wait a little bit to make sure our enemies, or to make sure our Pikmin don't get caught on collision like these guys. And then Louie can go back and help the Pikmin get more spicy sprays. And we're going to be on a very tight time limit, so we don't have a whole lot of time to figure it out, but that spicy spray that we just got is actually going to help us a lot. Because we're currently maybe down one white Pikmin, so the efficiency of that breakdown is going to be a little iffy. Okay, that's good. Okay. So the white Pikmin are going to destroy these gates for us. Gonna wait a little bit for that gas to pass. And then we're gonna zoom all these guys onto the bridge and just try to distract as best as we can with our group here. Okay. I think we'll be able to make it in time if we get this back. It's gonna be really close.
Fascinating. This object is highly similar to the one you found in the Valley of Repose. By examining this further, I may be able to extrapolate new planetary data.
Well, good, because, here we go. Yep, that takes all of our Pikmin. Now you might be wondering, well, if it increases attack speed and whatnot, then why don't you use the Ultra Spicy Spray on the Pikmin that are carrying the item back? It doesn't work quite like that. The best way to describe what's going on with the Ultra Spicy Spray is to kind of break down carrying speed a little bit.
Olimar, Louie, the sun will be setting soon. Call all of the Pikmin to you. This planet's native nocturnal lifeforms are ferocious and therefore dangerous. Load your Pikmin into the Onion and yourselves into my hull so we can take refuge in low orbit. Pikmin in your squad will enter the Onion on their own at day's end, so call them all to you.
Where was I? So carrying speed doesn't apply to Ultra Spicy Spray, interestingly enough. However, in sort of a weird, like, antithetical way, the Ultra Spicy Spray calculates all Pikmin that are carrying an object as flowers, but that speed persists, even if the effect fades. So I'm gonna double check to make sure that no Pikmin are just idling around or got stuck on geometry. I do see a single purple Pikmin that got stuck on geometry, and I have to go save them. It's probably a leaf purple. Oh, there it is. Okay. I need to check to make sure there is no free. Okay, where am I missing Pikmin? Guess we'll find out. The geographic projection.
This hemisphere also contains a hidden microchip. I will attempt to decrypt the stored data. Decoding complete. As I surmised, this chip contains additional topographic data. The data has been inputted into my database. I shall name it the Survey Chart.
Okay, let's... Whoop. And we have 30% of the debt recovered. Now then, where are these 5 Pikmin? You know what, I'm just gonna grab all these Pikmin and see if there's 89. Okay, we're good. So, that is Awakening Wood Day 3. We've completed every single cave that's possible, in the early game. And now we move on to day 4, where we will be going to the next area. Because, unsurprisingly, there are no breaks in this playthrough. If we want to go for the lowest possible dev-intended day, we have only 4 days remaining once we start the next one. That means that we're already almost halfway done with the game. But that's a lie, and you know it. There's a lot more to this game than I'm leading on. So, today's report is going to look nice and beefy. We made an extra 2,100 Pokos, and our population dramatically increased, with no Pikmin deaths so far. Our piece of mail. I hereby promote you to Perennial Manager. Press X to divide up work and Y to delegate more to your subordinate leader. Well, I'm gonna take that at face value. President. So, I'd like to thank you all so much for watching. And in the next episode, we tackle the first part of the next area of Pikmin 2, the Perplexing Pool. Until next time, I have been your host, Nekita Esperon, and I will see you in the next episode. See ya.